Hi guys, welcome back. So tonight, it's a classic play, but it's also something that still would be used in modern times. So we're going to tie an Usk Grub. So I have here sort of a down-eyed classic type hook. This is actually quite a big one. It's probably a 1/0 or so. And tonight I'm trying a black background to see how that works, and we're going to use a red thread. So I have here a uni 6-stroke is it 6-0, yep, in red because the head of this fly is red. So we'll take our red thread, down the shank. So the butt or tag of this fly we're going to use is a fine silver round tinsel. I'll tie that in, and then I'm tying it in around about where the tip of the point of the hook is here, and I'm going to wrap backwards, hopefully in relatively touching turns, just till it starts to go around the bend, and then looking forward again. So I'm trying to keep the thread bed as neat and even as we can here. And then I tend to turn my hook when I go to wrap tinsels like this, as it allows me to see over the back side. Okay, so we've now created our tag. I'm going to take my wraps of thread back off until I come to where I've quit with the tag. Then I'll catch in my tinsel. Keeping tension on the thread allows me to change the tinsel to point forwards, and then I'll come forward roughly what I think the rear hackle will wrap on, or the tail hackle. So, tail is our golden pheasant rump, and the idea here is that we'll have fibres that are roughly the length of the body on this one. This is the pattern as per Vineyard. So I'll find the tip of the feather, come back here to where our tinsel butt ended, and I'm going to wrap a turn across that tip, fold it back, and a couple of turns to hold that in place. So take our hackle pliers. I'm going to use vintage ones here for in keeping with this crack, so it may slip on me. So what I'll do now is I'll pinch around my hackle and pull the stalk between my finger and thumb, and that will fold it over or double it as we go. Then we'll wrap this hackle in touch and turns. And when we've done with the wraps, we'll be wrapping off on bare stripped stalk. I'm going to cut that off, measuring it to halfway and cutting it. and the reason for that is to keep my body level. So I'll wrap that underneath. And then for a rib on this one, we're going to use a silver oval. So I lay that across the shank at an angle, because my thread will then turn it over as it goes, and I want to tie that in on the far side and below the midline. So it's not directly underneath and it's not directly on the side, it's sort of sitting down at, what, if you were looking at it this way, it'd be at about 4 or 5 o'clock on the shank. Okay, so the rear half of this fly is a mixture of hot orange seal with a little bit of yellow mixed in with it. So we'll take our bunch of orange seal's fur. I'm going to take a pinch then of yellow here, and I'll put the two together on top of each other, and then pull the bunches through. To create the mix. So I'll set that aside in case I need some more of it, and then I'll just apply the dubbing down the waxed portion of my thread, and I start to twist it from the end. It starts to twist, but there's nothing catching it up here, so what I want to do is take a turn around that just catches a few fibres, and then that allows me to continue to twist and get a tighter sort of a dubbing rope. I'll just even it out here with my thumb. So now we're going to wrap this on. Trying to make it even. Stop there about the halfway point. So we'll rib this now with our silver. So personal taste, I suppose, comes into number of turns, but I would say on these sort of half flies, well, shrimp type flies, I would probably aim for 3 to 4 turns. I think if you get any more than that, it starts to look crowded in it. Tie it in on top, fold the tinsel forward, and then trim that. So this fly is a little unusual in that it has 2 hackles in the centre, and it calls for shortish hackles, so I suppose relative to the size of the fly it does look a bit strange, so I'm sort of going a little bit in between here. So I'll double the tip of a hot orange hackle, and I'm going to apply that on by its tip, fold it back, and then 1 turn of orange, fold the hackle tip forward, or hackle stalk forward, tie over it, and trim that. So it's very sparse, and that's followed then by 1 turn of white cock hackle. So I'll double that over, find the tip, tie it in up tight to our orange turn, fold it back, a couple of turns over it to hold it in position, and then one turn white tying in level with where we tied it, tying off, sorry, level with where we tied it in. And then again, I'm going to wrap forward a few turns just to hold that in position and trim. So take all these bits and pieces of fibres here, fold them back and tie back up to our hackle wraps. So essentially you've 2 turns of hackle on there, and to me white is an unusual colour in a salmon fly, I suppose, but it does seem to work. Okay, so we want to then reattach our silver oval for to rib the front section. So same thing again, tie it in on the side, and then that last little bit as you're tying it in, pull it down below the center line. And the front section of this fly is black seal, so I'm going to wax up my thread again, and the same as we did before, we'll take our black seal, stretch it out across our waxed portion and start to spin it. Now I'm holding it forward so that it doesn't trap any of my hackle, hopefully. And then I will pull my hackle back, and the first couple of wraps are going to be with this very thin tapered end of it, because we have this little bit of tying in stuff here. And then I'll tighten up my dubbing thread. I'll actually slide it down a little bit to make it thicker, and then wrap forward to make the front body section. And then we'll take our rib, and the same as the rear section, I'm going to try and keep the angle roughly the same and the distance apart roughly the same, and the same number of turns. So I'll have 4 turns on my side, 3 on the far, tying off on the 4th turn as it comes across here. Twist the tackle forward, or not tackle, the tinsel, and trim it off. So, jungle cock is next, and this fly calls for jungle cock the length of the body. So I'll take a feather here, set it on. I'm intending to make like a boat, like a V roof to it if I can. So I'm tying it on the side, same length. I'll use the stalk to position the angle of the feathers, hopefully. Okay. Trim off the stalks. And now we're going to create our head hackle to finish the fly. So the hackle calls for a long cockybundu style. Now cockybundu refers to a black centre with a black tip, and so then there'll be a light portion in the middle. So I suppose it's like a badger with a black tip. Now anybody knows that those are almost impossible to find, so this is as close as we're going to get. So this one is our black center, and there are just small black tips to it. So you can have any manner of different shades of Cockybundu, from like a dark red game through to this is a fairly light one. And I've chosen this one again because it's long fibred. So this is sort of like a contrast in this fly, in that we have quite short, relatively short centre hackles, but that the front hackle is called for to be much longer, approaching the length of the body if possible. So that'll depend on the size of the fly that you're tying. So get our hackle pliers back on to our double tackle. And then with each turn I'll just wrap our the fibres back. I'm controlling the I'll use my fingers here for this, it's actually easier because I'm twisting the stalk. I'm controlling the angle the stalk lays in on. And that'll control the splay of the hackle fibres. So when we get our hackle wrapped to the point where we're now on bare stalk, tie that in. Instead, if I want, my head can be minute. It could be those 3 or 4 turns of thread. So I'll actually wax up here and we'll form a head. Wax our thread. Hold all this back out of the way. And then I'll wrap the wax thread as far forward as I want the head to go. And then I'll wrap back, making that sort of little taper to it. Finish that off. Trim it. And then we'll varnish it with clear varnish. I tend to rotate the fly and keep the brush steady. And that is our fly tied. So that's our Usk Grub. So as I said, a classic fly that still fishes today. One of the progenitors, I suppose, of all the Irish type shrimps. So as per usual, if you enjoyed the video, give us a like, subscribe, leave some comments, good or bad. Hopefully the black background worked. I'll find that out, I suppose, whenever I start to edit the video here. But until next time, tight lines, and thanks for watching.